Hey y'all, Monk Joseph here with Broken Buddha. I actually just wanted to continue on from the videos I made this morning about schizophrenia and schizophrenic families. I forgot a few really important things. So one is my diagnoses and two is my health. Going through the diagnosis process was a hell, but not nearly as bad as what I would actually consider hell. And because of what I experienced as a child, I don't really give any credence to Judeo-Christian hell or even like the Tibetan 18 hells. Um, yeah, I mean, you'll understand why in a minute, but I mean, the memories I have and the echoing of my childhood is, I think, what most people would consider hell. Okay, so let's talk about the diagnoses first, right? I was completely misdiagnosed, and I've never been, just to clarify, because I think this is very important for this video, I have never, ever been diagnosed or suggested to have schizophrenia. And you should know that any real schizophrenic would never get diagnosed and would never go to a therapist. So that's what makes the condition so tricky. And that's why I'm not saying I'm not a true. I don't know. I just know that I have these seeds, and these seeds, the potential for the psychological psychosis is what we're talking about. Now, real quick, let me just go back to um, the one person in these schizophrenic families, that's just the one person who experienced enough stress or chemically triggered their schizophrenia. Okay, so the other people in the family just haven't experienced enough pain or hardship in life, or they didn't do anything that chemically triggered it. But I mean, even something like this is going to sound really crazy, but look into it. Things like some people can't handle raising kids and it triggers their schizophrenia. Some people can't handle psychologically giving birth and it triggers their schizophrenia. Um, and a lot of times these things get mislabeled because everyone is terrified to be labeled as a schizophrenic. So anyway, so there's that. All right, so I've never been diagnosed as schizophrenic. What I have been is, it started out, I had my IQ tested. My mom thought I was slow. Turned out I had the highest IQ in the family. And then they diagnosed me with ADHD because of that. I probably, if it was nowadays, they would have taken me to be observed to check me for autism. The only reason I wasn't is because when I was 11, was in 1994. Guess when the book was released to diagnose an 11-year-old with autism spectrum disorder? 1994. So I just came out like right on the cusp. I was like, being checked for being slow, like right on the cusp as they were realizing and releasing this information to help people verify it. We just either weren't in the socioeconomic bracket or had a really crappy doctor. Both are really plausible. So there was that, and they said I had some depression, but it wasn't like that severe. Moving forward, I ended up being they said I had what was it, depression? It was like manic depression and ADHD, and ended up giving me like anti-seizure medications. Uh, Moving forward into that stayed like that for a while, just manic depression and ADHD, some anxiety, and the last one is, I guess, the closest they ever got to that. I was in a psychosis at the time, and I would actually go ahead and say that it was that. It was a schizophrenic psychosis. But the doctors labeled it a, what was it? Depressive manic bipolar with psychotic features, right? Um, and the people who diagnosed me that, I'm pretty well versed in mental health because I've been going through it since I was, 10 and 11. And they will tell you if they're honest about it. They discussed it with me. Mental health is in the Stone Age and beyond. I would say even earlier. Like they're really just not there. Most of the things that they do, they have no clue how they work, and it doesn't help that every psych ward has a tier where if you have enough money, you can actually go to and get help. So that should. And I'm not complaining or saying anything good or bad about that. This is why we are in this position. Not everyone's getting the same help. Not everyone's getting the same analysis, the same treatments. Um, if you have enough money, your doctor will pretty much validate anything you say and tell you that it's everyone else. And I've seen it. And a lot of people probably don't know, but a therapist is going to help you work through things, but they're also designed to help you find your superiority. I once asked a therapist, like, if someone says they believe they're Superman, are you allowed to tell them they're not? And he's like, no, I have to be like, you are a Superman. And, you can't really, they're not allowed to pick into those things, at least the way I was described by that particular therapist on how that he conducts those kinds of things, which was kind of alarming. And whatever, he served the intention purpose, but I mean, he was the one I mentioned before that, like, could not handle a drop of stress without completely crumbling emotionally. All right. So anyway, so that's my diagnoses. That's everything. It went from ADHD to manic depression and ADHD to depressive manic bipolar with psychotic features. And as you can see, it was like kind of getting worse and worse. But now I'm not quite to that degree. I have my good days and bad days like anybody else. But for the most part, that's all it is. So that's all I have to say about that. Um, I noticed not a lot of people watch the second video, so hopefully whoever needs to see this will see it. I'm a huge fan of karma and what I study, so whoever needs to see this is supposed to see it. Whoever sees it with good eyes, same. Anyway, so let's not get into that. Let's talk about my health. So when I was in my early 20s, when I would get under a lot of stress, I would have like this just echoing of like being curled up in a ball, crying, scared, did it, while my stepdad is losing his temper, because that's what the hell was. And it took me a while to you know get to a point in life where the memories in the flashback were slowly one by one completed. um, and it's atrocious. It's absolutely atrocious. Like, and to be honest, I don't know how to take it, because as I mentioned in the one video, I don't believe these things are anybody's fault. It seems like my parents are very, very mean or rude, but I know that's not the case. I know that if they could have not been like this, they would not have been like this. At least I feel that way. I can't confirm anybody's thoughts or feelings. So here it is. And this is why I'm making this video. So my stepfather would go into schizophrenic psychoses or some variant psychoses and make up reasons to hurt us. Like he would conjure reasons to hurt us, or he would hurt us and then conjure a reason. Now I don't know what he did with my brothers when I was really, really little, because it was usually just me and him when these things happened. And I did try to tell people, and it was times where like sometimes he would my earliest memory is like playing with toys, being lifted off the ground and being spanked until I cried, and not like I didn't do anything. I was just sitting there playing my toys, and he is just like out of his mind. And I remember even at a really, really young age, I mean, we're talking like 4 and 5, I remember looking up and seeing this like monster that was not the stepfather my mother brought home, but like a completely different person who was like on a mission to break me down. And I remember it didn't hurt, but I also remember that I knew for whatever reason inside myself, even to this day, I remember I could feel that he wasn't going to stop until I broke. So I broke. And this happened every time. And then he would say things like, "I had to hurt you because you weren't listening." And I'll be like, "Hey, I didn't hear anything." And then he starts beating you because he thinks you're lying. And it's funny, because the reason I say it's a schizophrenic psychosis is because there are times where I'd be like, "I didn't hear you," and you'd seem like snap out of it, like, "What? No, wait, hold on, what? Like you didn't." Oh, the phone's having an issue. That's no good. What's going on here? This can't be the day for this. All right. Sorry about that. I had technical difficulties there. So yeah, so the reason why I call it a schizophrenic psychosis is because I would see him like vividly start to snap out of it, and then reaffirm himself in his psychosis, and just keep going. And then I did try to tell my mom, he would just, "Oh, he's not listening. He's a kid. He doesn't know what he's talking about." They would tell me the same thing. And again, while I'm making this video, is because now I do know what I'm talking about, and they can't say that anymore. And they're trying to still. Sorry, I swallowed a bug. Man, it is technical difficulties, a clock or something, right? Um, so yeah, so there's that, and this went on my entire childhood. This is that first experience. The rest of my childhood is just an echoing of that, because it never stopped. And he would like look for reasons to hurt us. Like, yeah, I can't think of any other example other than he would pretty much work himself up, and then assault us, and then tell us why afterwards. And he was always like completely out of his mind when he would assault me. I'm trying to think of the other times where he was like making stuff up. He would get paranoid, and because he is a very manipulative person, he would get paranoid and accuse us of trying to manipulate him a lot of times. And I know there were quite a few times, especially early on, where we were just trying to communicate, like, "Hey man, like this is what happened, this is what we saw, this is what's going on." But get really angry and believe that we're trying to manipulate him to take advantage of him and hurt him, and lose his mind and start freaking out, assaulting whoever I guess was alone and closest, or send us all to our rooms and then go around one by one and assault us individually as he saw fit and knew he could get away with. Sorry, I shouldn't be smiling, but that is my sense of denial kicking in. Yeah, so that's on his side of it. This is the hell I grew up with, just a schizophrenic, both taking out their psychosis on me constantly as a child and you know twisting things. I mean, I would almost go as far as to say that he's a paranoid schizophrenic because he would get paranoid that we were trying to hurt and manipulate him, and then would hurt us because of this. Okay, so moving forward, I did try to tell my mother about this. My mother was part of my hell. Part of the completion of my memories out of that original flashback in my early 20s, and it was heavy. It was bad. Like, I lost jobs over that. I was debilitated, like, in a depressive anxiety to where, like, yeah, I was losing jobs and couldn't function and, like, completely breaking down. Um, yeah, and I did try to discuss it with him a little bit here and there, but none of this got discussed until like a few years ago while he was covering all of his tracks. So when I did tell my mother, this is where things are going to get really seemingly mean and kind of sick. But again, you have to understand that a normal person doesn't act like this, and I do not think my mother was in her right mind when she was acting like this. I would tell her that he would hurt me for no reason. And she would, at first it was, you don't know what you're talking about, you're a little kid, you don't know what you're talking about, you're a little kid. And this got repeated over and over the entire childhood too. And even to this day, they say, I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm just a little kid. They don't say little kid part, but you get the idea. Um, and then eventually, like, she just went for gusto and she would sit me down and be like, well, if I get rid of him, I'm going to be sad. You don't want your mom to be sad, do you? And what do you think any 4-year-old or 5-year-old would say? So, and that I only have a few of those, but I do know that that happened a few times where I was like, "Mom, I can't take this anymore. This guy is really out of control. I don't want to do this anymore." And she would sit me down and push me into continuing. Like, no, like you need to continue like doing this so that I don't have to be sad. I mean, and don't get me wrong. I'm not saying people shouldn't, take a shot for their mom every once in a while, but your mother should not be saying, "Hey, you need to keep suffering so I don't experience any discomfort or suffering." Right? This is your job to suffer. That should not have happened. And again, this is why we're making the videos. So this is probably my longest winded series. I don't expect a lot of people to agree or like it. I actually expect the complete opposite. But again, this video series and even this video specifically is made for that one person who is in that deep psychotic depressive psychosis. I don't know why I said it twice, but I guess you should say like extreme depressive psychosis, you know, who knows what other tendencies are creeping in there, just looking for a single thread. Well, this is why I'm making this video, because to someone like that, this is that single thread. You're not crazy. Your family is schizophrenic. You're not the only one. They don't know how to deal with stress, and you're going to have to find a way to deal with it on your own. First step is be healthy. There's nothing better you can do for your mental health than just be healthy. Move more. Not saying stay neurotic and busy all the time. You need to make sure you're doing proper movement. Whether you're doing some type of martial arts, some type of dance, some type of yoga, whatever it is, you got to keep moving. So there you have it. This is my diagnosis, my hell. So my hell is my entire childhood is like pretty much. I do have some memories that are better than others, but the majority of my childhood, when I think back and when I wake up every morning, it's just an echoing of pain and suffering. And he got away with it, like completely. Um, I do believe in karma, and I do worry about what may happen to one or both of them. But he got away with it. It's what he wanted, and yeah. And to be honest, I should thank him for treating me so poorly the last time I visited. Because if he wouldn't have acted the way he used to when he used to assault me constantly, I probably would have never had these memories come back. And I would have been in that weird delusion and deluded lifestyle, not knowing why I was suffering so much or understanding why I was suffering so much. But again, even that is attested to, in my opinion, karmic traces, because I am a religious practitioner. So, all right, I think I covered everything. My diagnosis, my hell, everything I can think of. And again, guys, this is a mental health, whatever, pandemic or whatever you want to call it, because nobody that is that sick is ever going to allow themselves to get labeled as sick or try to get help for it. I think I've only met one person who actually got diagnosed with their schizophrenia and is on the antipsychotics. And that's all they can do is give them antipsychotics. And I can. I don't think it's helping the guy. Like I remember this guy. He had zero social function um, at the job I saw him at. Acted like he wanted to, fight me once and didn't do anything. He just wanted to posture at me. Um, but yeah, so I mean, it's not going to happen. If you're expecting your schizophrenic family, your schizophrenic parents to get help, I'm telling you right now, it's not going to happen. You've got a better chance. Just hit your knees and pray. Or whatever it is you can do, or I don't know what else you can do. There's really nothing you can do. And for all the people out there that are suffering, that find this piece as a thread, um, I know you don't want to hear this, but it's nobody's fault. All right, it's not my mom's fault that she was literally taught by both of the powerful women that she respected in her life that it's okay for your children to get assaulted to a point of lower functionality as long as it's for sex. My stepdad did not ask to be born into a family with a segregation cop, a pedophile, and a best friend who he didn't know would turn out to be a pedophile. And both of those pedophiles are doing time. Have no fear. Um, and the segregation cop, his father kind of did come around, and I've never seen him do a racist thing, but it was his job to arrest people for being black in white areas at one point in his life. And my stepfather grew up around that guy. And one more thing before I go, I will say this: I think one of the unique aspects I have to my mental health that others don't is I don't know if this makes any sense, but I would argue that I have the potential of a triple schizophrenic seed because, and my mom was not diagnosed. My mom told me stories of my grandmother's therapy that made, I think, are very clear cut schizophrenia, but no one's ever called it that. And anybody who knows my dad or my dad's family understands that there's definitely a schizophrenic seed running wild in that family. Um, and then I have my stepdad. So I had the two genetic seeds coming to me, and I had a step parent just constantly bringing it up and bringing it out of me. So again, this is my diagnosis. I guess, I mean, you could argue that I can't possibly be schizophrenic because why would I label myself potentially as such if I was? That's like an impossibility to a schizophrenic. So, all right, there you have it. But moving forward, let's all reach for some better mental health. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you're suffering and don't know which direction to go, try to leave them in the comments. I do check these. I do get notifications, so I will try to get to you as soon as I can. Look up in your area. We'll find a way to get you some help or find someone to talk to. Or if you want to talk about my progress, which has been slow, it's going to continue to be slow. It's going to continue to be horrible, but I will get through this. I will get out of this, and I will help others get through this and out of this with me. All right. So thank you for your time. Thanks for stopping by. Again, forgive the long-winded videos, but yeah, I hope this helps somebody. I know it'll help somebody, and if they don't speak up either way, just keep gunning, man. Keep going. You can make this. You can do this. You're gonna make it through all the mental health issues, all the suicidal psychoses, all the patricidal or matricidal psychoses. You're gonna get through all of it. You're going to come out a better person. You just have to keep moving forward. You have to keep working with yourself. You got to keep getting healthier, keep moving more, talk to therapists. You're gonna find 90% of them are horrible, but you will find one that'll eventually help you. You gotta hold on. They're not the ones suffering. You're the one who has to hold on. You're the one who has to keep working. Get it done. We can get there together. Let's all get on the other side together. And high five. Be powerful. Everything. Whatever it is that you can do. Let's do it. So, all right. That's my motivational words. Thanks for stopping by. We'll get back to the regularly scheduled programming, being like kung fu's and yogas, very shortly. I will be doing a form series soon. All right. So again, thanks for stopping by. Peace and blessings.